Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So this is the other side of the castle.
This is behind the castle. So can you see there where I'm pointing? That's Tulsi House there. Those steps lead up to Tulsi House. This is the back of the castle. It's fancy, isn't it?
Yeah, fancy. And in front of us is just beautiful fields and forests. Trees starting to turn. A lovely scene. And it's a little chilly. But that's only because it's overcast. When the sun comes out, it's nice.
Yeah.
So that's the weather report for today. Now I'll read Bhagavatam. And you can see the falling leaves.
Oh, it's already distracted us.
Okay.
Canto 3, Chapter 29. Text. I don't think it's 18. I think we did 18. It's 19. In fact, it might even be 20.
Oh, goodness. I asked you before.
It's alright, just...
Who are not spiritually advanced?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's 20.
Okay, yeah. All right.
So it's Canto 3, Chapter 29, Text 20.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Sing.
And the sink, the sink over there.
Two of them. All right. As the chariot of air carries an aroma from its source and immediately catches the sense of smell, similarly, one who constantly engages in devotional service in Krishna consciousness can catch the Supreme Soul, who is equally present everywhere. Purport.
I need a minute to think about that one. Go ahead.
As a breeze carrying a pleasant fragrance from a garden of flowers at once captures the organ of smell, so one's consciousness, saturated with devotion, can at once capture the transcendental existence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who in his Paramatma feature is present everywhere, even in the heart of every living being. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Kshetragyan, present within this body, but he is also simultaneously present in every other body. Since the individual soul is present only in a particular body, he is altered when another individual soul does not cooperate with him. The Supersoul, however, is equally present everywhere. Individual souls may disagree, but the Supersoul, being equally present in every body, is called unchanging or avikari. The individual soul, when fully saturated with Krishna consciousness, can understand the presence of the Supersoul. It is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita that bhaktiya mam abhijananti, a person saturated with devotional service in full Krishna consciousness, can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, either as Supersoul or as the Supreme Person. So it's nice. My understanding is that the more we actually absorb ourselves in Krishna consciousness, the more we can capture him almost. Capture him, I understand, not, I'll see Krishna. Well, which no reason why you can't, but capture him meaning my mind will be captured. Otherwise, normally it's thinking of this, that, and the other. And he said this and she said that, but I'll capture Krishna in that he will distract my mind. He will become that which I start to, Krishna said this and Krishna did that, as opposed to this, that, and the other.
Yeah, Krishna is everywhere. We just have to have the eyes to see it. So the more that any of us, cultivate knowledge of a subject, the more that we see it. Just like we're staring at the woods now, but all I see more or less are trees. But if I really understood all the varieties of trees here, and I knew a bit, then when I look at this forest, I'd be like, oh wow, look, that's a fir tree, that's a maple, that's an oak, there's some whatever, that tree. So you'd see it with more distinction and clarity than, someone who doesn't have that knowledge. So, yeah, we attract. Krishna's already there. Actually, he's, like Prabhupada said, he's the super soul. He's already in everything. He's in every atom of the material energy. Just do we see it? Like Srila Prabhupada, when he used to go for morning walks especially, and he'd point to something, and like the one time he had he pointed to a mud puddle and it was cold and it had become iced over, and he said, "What is that?" And all the devotees were like, "It's a mud puddle with ice on it, Prabhupada." And he said, "No, this is the nature of the conditioned living entity. His natural constitution is to be liquid, but in the material world, it becomes frozen and becomes solid, but that's not natural." He said, so the living entity's natural condition is to be a spiritual being on the spiritual platform, Satchidananda, but in his conditioned state, he becomes, attached to the material energy like that. So Prabhupada was seeing Krishna in everything, So, yeah, the more we absorb ourselves, the more we see Krishna. And I can hear Krishna. Like Prabhupada said, we have to call the holy name like a child cries for its mother.
Okay. 21.
Text 21.
21.
I am present in every living entity as the Supersoul. If someone neglects or disregards that Supersoul everywhere and engages himself in the worship of the deity in the temple, that is simply imitation. Wow, that's a powerful statement. So I don't know if everyone understood. So Krishna is saying he's present in every living entity as the Supersoul. And if we neglect or disregard that Supersoul everywhere, means in all living entities, but we engage in deity worship, we're just imitating. Because
that's nice.
We're
very
meant
powerful.
to worship everyone,
Yes.
seeing the soul, which, makes me think there were some flies in the room earlier, and after several hours I wasn't so nice to one of them, at least one. And and I was thinking, God, but what do you do? I guess they weren't attacking me. But yeah, so, all living entities were meant to be respectful, and then that's worship. So let's see what Prabhupada says in the purport.
It's like acorns falling on my head.
Yeah, it's sticks and leaves and so. I guess this is the way that what's his name? Isaac Newton.
Yeah, Eureka.
Eureka moment. I am present in every living entity, I already read it. In purified consciousness or Krishna consciousness, one sees the presence of Krishna everywhere. Therefore, if one only engages in deity worship in the temple and does not consider other living entities, then he is in the lowest grade of devotional service, which is called Kanishta. Kanishta. One who worships the deity in the temple and does not show respect to others is a devotee on the material platform, Prakrita Bhakta. In the lowest stage of devotional service, a devotee should try to understand everything in relationship with Krishna and try to serve everything in that spirit. Everything. To serve everything means, great, Prabhupada qualifies, to engage everything in the service of Krishna. Okay, to serve everything means to engage everything in the service of Krishna. If a person is innocent and doesn't know his relationship with Krishna, an advanced devotee should try to engage him in the service of Krishna. One who is advanced in Krishna consciousness can engage not only the living being, but everything in the service of Krishna. This is really powerful. And we just did conducted a wedding yesterday, and we always try to involve as many of the family members as possible, and that's a way of engaging them in some service, especially if they're children or devotees, and maybe they're not. Then they get engaged in doing some service. They get to do this, they get to do that. And yesterday was nice because everything was done before the deities, which is a little stressful. But yeah, it's nice to engage. We should always be eager to see what skills, attributes, qualities, inclinations, natural abilities someone has, and how can they be engaged in Krishna's service. My thoughts.
Text 22. One who worships the deity of Godhead in the temples but does not know that the Supreme Lord as Paramatma is situated in every living entity's heart must be in ignorance, and is compared to one who offers oblations into ashes. Purport. It is clearly stated herein that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in his plenary expansion of Supersoul, is present in all living entities. The living entities have 8,400,000 different kinds of bodies, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead is living in every body, both as the individual soul and as the Supersoul. Since the individual soul is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, in that sense the Lord is living in every body, and as Supersoul the Lord is also present as a witness. In both cases, the presence of God in every living entity is essential. Therefore, persons who profess to belong to some religious sect but who do not feel the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in every living entity and everywhere else are in a mode of ignorance. Very nice. Just continuing that mood, I guess, that you can't worship, come to the home of God, as it were, and disregard the servants, or fellow servants, I should say, rather. If the mood is, get out of my way, I'm here to see the Lord. But you're all servants before God. No?
Yeah, well, we all are. We may not all act in that capacity, but ultimately we're all subservient to God.
Yeah, therefore, those persons who profess to belong to some religious sect but do not feel the presence of the Supreme Personality of God in every living entity are in the mode of ignorance. That's really powerful, actually. Very powerful. It can be applied to any path.
Well, yeah, it's also setting up again that distinction of a practitioner in the lowest grade, but there's still a practitioner, right? Kanishta Adhikar is still or Kanishta Bhakta rather, is still a Bhakta, still a devotee, but it's just that their service is not very developed, it's not very spiritually advanced. So this is helping us to understand, that's how I should be seeing things. I should understand that. Next paragraph and last paragraph. If without this preliminary knowledge of the Lord's omnipresence, one simply attaches himself to the rituals in the temple, church, or mosque, Prabhupada expanding it from just temple, it is as if he were offering butter into ashes rather into the fire. So that's an interesting statement, because yesterday was offering ghee into the fire, and that's what basically Prabhupada is talking about, clarified butter or ghee. And if you just have ashes and there's nothing there to ignite or burn, and you put the ghee in it, it's just going to go in there and make smoke. It's not going to do anything. You're not going to get fire. One offers sacrifices by pouring clarified butter into a fire and chanting Vedic mantras. But even if there are Vedic mantras and all conditions are favorable, if the clarified butter is poured on ashes, then such a sacrifice will be useless. In other words, a devotee should not ignore any living condition. The devotee must know that in every living condition, however insignificant he may be, even in an ant, God is present, and therefore every living entity should be kindly treated and should not be subjected to any violence. In modern civilized society, slaughterhouses are regularly maintained and supported by a certain type of religious principle. But without knowledge of the presence of God in every living entity, any so-called advancement of human civilization, either spiritual or material, is to be understood as being in the mode of ignorance. So, predominating theme here of the mode of ignorance, which means lacking knowledge, or definitely lacking on the capacity to act on knowledge, even if you do have it. What was it? Some words stood out to me here, because we just, what was it? I was going to say something else. You were going to say something? You had anything to say?
It says, the devotee, in this paragraph, the devotee must know that in every living entity, however insignificant he may be, even in an ant, God is present. And therefore every living entity should be treated kindly and should not be subjected to any violence.
Oh no. Those flies.
Those pesky flies.
Those pesky flies.
There were a lot of them.
A lot. Slaughterhouses, that's what I was going to say. It was discussed this morning in the Srimad Bhagavatam class. Someone made the statement that there are 40 million abortions every year, which is just short of the number of births every year. And there are 8 billion animals killed every hour, I think it is. That's ridiculous. 8 billion animals killed every hour. You know, that's just the ones that they could count as kind of registered somewhere. You know, just through the agency of slaughtering animals. And the point that was made was that, you know, with this much degradation, sinful activity going on the planet, is there any wonder why things are the way they are, you know, because it's so inauspicious. So yes, so slaughterhouses are regularly maintained and supported by, it says here, even certain type of religious principle. So some of them may be, you know, what is it in Judaism? It's called kosher food. And within Islam they say halal, you know, so like that. Hinduism they say prasad, hopefully it is, like that. So, yeah, interesting. Any thoughts?
No.
Okay. So we'll leave the next one. I think we'll call it there. And we're planning to have a reading later this afternoon, hopefully with some wonderful devotees who've been here for many years. Gopaswami Prabhu and his wife Krishna Charanaravinda, Mother Krishna Charanaravinda.
Very senior.
Hopefully, I think we're going to meet and read in Srila Prabhupada's room.
The rooms he used while he was here.
Which we did a reading in once before, a few months back, with Nicola and Cleo. Yeah, so like that.
Let's see.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hari Hari.